You know that feeling, right? Pushing through the stress, ignoring the exhaustion, just telling yourself, I can handle this. But what happens when you can't anymore? What happens when your mind just runs out of road? Well, today we're going to dig into that critical moment when the body is forced to send the messages our mind has been trying so hard to ignore. So let's ask that question directly. What really happens when your mind just runs out of room? When that internal space you use to manage all the pressure and stress is just completely full? The answer isn't always some big dramatic breakdown. A lot of the time, it's something way more quiet and physical. And this quote, man, it just nails what we're talking about today. The whole idea is that our body is the last resort. It's the final line of communication. It doesn't start the conversation, it ends it. And it usually ends it in a way that we absolutely cannot ignore anymore. So let's unpack this. How does it even get to that point? Okay, so it all starts with what we're calling the silent overload. This is the first stage, and the name says it all. The problem is building, but it's all happening underneath the surface, completely inside your head, at least for a while. Look, this isn't like flipping a switch. It's more like a slow, gradual spillover. For a really long time, all that psychological strain, the bad sleep, the exhaustion, the thoughts that won't shut up, you're managing it all in your head. But there is a limit. Eventually, that system just runs out of space, and all that pressure has to go somewhere. And that's exactly when we hit the next phase, the body's first whisper. This is the moment the body starts sending its first, kinda tentative messages. And here's the key. They are whispers, not shouts. And that is precisely why they are so unbelievably easy to miss. So what do these whispers even sound like? Well, think about this stuff. A little tightness in your chest, breathing that just feels a bit off, or that weird sense of pressure inside that you can't quite put your finger on. Maybe it's just feeling completely wiped out after doing almost nothing. The main thing here is how ambiguous it all is. These signals, they come and they go, which makes them so easy to just brush aside. Right, and because these symptoms aren't constant, because it doesn't feel like a five-alarm fire, our minds find it incredibly simple to rationalize it all away. You know the script? Oh, I'm just tired, or it's just work stress, or maybe I just need more coffee. That inconsistency becomes the perfect excuse to do nothing. And that easy dismissal, well, that's what leads us right into our third stage, which is a big one, the rationality trap. This is that internal battle that starts raging when a really logical, high-functioning brain tries to make sense of all these confusing, inconsistent signals from the body. So you've got this argument going on inside your own head. On one side, your body is sending this very real signal of discomfort. But on the other side, your rational mind turns on itself. It starts asking questions like, is this chest thing really physical? Or am I just anxious? Am I just blowing this out of proportion? It's a kind of denial that's cleverly disguised as logic. And this is a huge one, especially for high achievers. Our culture, and especially our work culture, basically conditions us to see this kind of physical discomfort as a sign of weakness. If there's no broken bone, no obvious cause, we're taught to just push through it. As long as you can still show up and do your job, you're expected to just keep going. So how in the world do you break out of that trap? Well, it happens by learning how to do this, decoding the body's data. This means we have to completely reframe what these signals are and correct a really common and frankly dangerous misunderstanding. Okay, let's just talk about the word psychosomatic for a second. It gets used all the time as a way to dismiss something, to say, it's all in your head. But that is not what it means. What it actually describes are very real, measurable, physiological responses that are caused by a sustained psychological load. These are not imaginary symptoms, they are real. The science on this is actually pretty direct. Your body doesn't really know the difference between a physical threat, like an actual tiger chasing you, and chronic emotional pressure, like a horrible boss. Both of them activate the exact same stress pathways. And when those pathways are activated over and over and over, you get real, tangible changes in your heart rate, your blood pressure, your breathing, everything. And this is the absolute key takeaway. That tightness in your chest, that shallow breathing, these are not just metaphors for feeling stressed out. They are data. They are your body's way of communicating in the only language it has that the entire system is running way beyond its sustainable limits. So what happens when that data becomes so loud it's undeniable? That's when we arrive at the climax of this whole story, the somatic turn. This is that moment of forced reinterpretation, where the truth just can't be rationalized away any longer. This is the huge cognitive reframe that has to happen. It's a complete shift in how you see the problem. What you used to see as a personal failure, as a weakness, as something's wrong with me, suddenly gets reclassified for what it is: evidence of systemic overload. The story completely changes from I am failing to the system is failing. But it's really, really important to understand this. This realization isn't some magical moment of relief. In fact, it's often incredibly destabilizing. It's that moment you realize your trusted strategy of just pushing through has become the very thing that's breaking you. It doesn't fix the problem overnight, but what it does bring is a deep, profound, and necessary clarity. And this quote just wraps the whole journey up perfectly. By the time the physical symptoms finally get loud enough for you to actually hear them, it's because your mind's usual defenses have already been totally bypassed. The body has taken over the negotiation. It has the final say.
So we end with this. Your body is always communicating with you. Always. The real question isn't if it's speaking. It's, are you listening to the whispers right now before it's forced to shout?